You do not work to nurture relationships, find common ground, build consensus, and keep people safe while protecting your own national security by encouraging or condoning a country to blow up another country and resources and assets that are incredibly important to and a part of the legacy and the history of a country like Ethiopia. It was shameful and ignorant for him to say that, but it is unsurprising given what he has also said about Haitians and about countries across the continent of Africa. I also work with the Congressional Black Caucus on GADI, which is the Global African Diaspora Initiative. And I share that with you so that you know how committed the Black Caucus is, how committed I am, how committed Democrats are, and how committed a Democratic administration is to deepening relationships with Ethiopia and recognizing how important you are to the fabric of this country. You don't say terrible things like that about your friends, and you don't encourage other nations to do things like that to your friend countries. So I ask that you just continue to get educated about the folks who are running to be the president of the United States. Integrity matters, and you cannot, nor should you, if you are a leader, say terrible, horrible, demeaning things like what Donald Trump says about Black people and about Africans, and expect that everyone will say, well, he's just joking, or that's just him. He doesn't mean what he says. Maya Angelou said, believe what someone says about you the first time. I believe what he said the first time, and I'm not willing to take a chance on the second, because I love my country, I love my district, and I love my community, which includes the Ethiopian community. So thank you so much for the opportunity to spend these few minutes with you. I hope you share with your friends and your neighbors how important this election is. Ballots have already dropped in California. We have up until November 5th to vote. Do not be manipulated to vote against your best interests. Do not be manipulated to vote against Ethiopia. Do not be manipulated to vote against democracy. Thank you so much.
Address this group, both those gathered in this hall and those joining us remotely around the world. I'm going to introduce our first speaker tonight, John McGuire, Mr. John McGuire of Virginia. Now, John will not say this. He will not say this, but I will. John McGuire is an American hero. Having served in the Navy's elite SEAL unit, and upon retirement from the Navy or termination of his service with the Navy, began another life of service, or continued his life of service by being a state senator in Virginia's General Assembly, one of America's great General Assemblies, one of its most distinguished, nearly as distinguished as that gathers in Harrisburg. Almost. But he's done a remarkable job there and is ascending now, if that's the correct term, to the U.S. Congress in November. I think I can make that prediction. I'm going to go out on a limb, and Mr. McGuire will join the United States Congress, be elected in November, put his hand in the air in January, and that's when we really begin to lean on him. That's to become a member of the Ethiopian Congressional Caucus, etc. But he's been a great help already, and he's here tonight not to talk about himself because he's a humble person, but to talk about the presidential election, in particular the candidacy of former President Trump for the presidency. So with that, the Honorable John McGuire. John, please join us.
Strong leader, and he's a man who says what he means and means what he says. You know, I've listened to world leaders talk about what's going on in the world right now, and he has the best answer I've heard from anyone. For me, life as a Navy SEAL, as a veteran, life is precious and it must be protected. When we look at what's going on in Ukraine and Israel and Ethiopia and all over the world, I heard President Trump, the only world leader, that when he talked about Ukraine and other places, he just said, I want people to stop dying. Now, I'd like to make the case as to why I hope that everyone here at Aepac would vote for President Trump. Now, I understand you guys were very impactful for Governor Glenn Youngkin getting elected, and I really appreciate that. He's a great leader, and he brings people together, and I think you guys had a big impact on that. What do you guys think? I would ask you to do the same thing for President Trump. Now, let's go back to when Trump was in office. You may remember we did not have foreign wars, which means less people are dying. And I understand right now in Ethiopia, especially Orthodox Christians are being persecuted at a very high rate, that they were not getting persecuted like that when Trump was in office. And so, President Trump loves all people, and we are proud, I know I speak on behalf of President Trump, that he's proud to have your community as part of the American fabric, for people to live, work, and raise their family and be prosperous. When President Trump was in office, we kept dangerous criminals in jail. Fast forward to the last 3.5 years, it seems the Democrat policies are criminals are good, police are bad, and no one cares about the victims. And I know Trump believes, that we're going to support policies where you can live, work, and raise your families in peace. Under President Trump, a young person could graduate college or go to a trade school, and they could start a family and be able to afford a house. We had low interest rates, 2%, record lows. And of course, the housing prices were low and it was easier to get a loan. Fast forward over the last 3.5 years, interest rates today, 7%, low supply of housing, and housing costs are going through the roof. And for a young person to start a family, to start out on their own, is next to impossible. We talk about the wars overseas in Ukraine. We talk about what happened in Israel. And again, we go back to Ethiopia. We look at what China's involvement is. You guys remember the failed or botched withdrawal in Afghanistan? We left $7 billion of the latest military technology behind. 13 American soldiers were killed, and for the first time we left American citizens behind. And that's because we have weak leadership. And when you have weak leadership, as we have with the Biden administration, people are dying. And I would say, a lot of you who are raising children here in the United States, and I think somebody said they have, Wasi says she has grandchildren, but she's a little too young for that. We are less safe as a people at the local, state, and federal level. Now, as Chris said, I'm running for Congress in my district in Virginia. It's the 5th Congressional District. In Campbell County, there's a 33-year-old, I would say illegal, came here illegally. He had been released from jail 4 times, 33 years old, raped a 14-year-old girl. And sadly, we're hearing stories that these gang members, as President Trump says, they're emptying their jails. And so we're seeing crime rates in every major city in the United States. Under the Biden administration, murder rates are up 70-some%. So I would say that, again, I'm a Navy SEAL, I'm a protector, and I want you to be able to live, work, and raise your family in peace. But we're less safe at the local, state, and federal level. You guys probably saw the Hurricane Helene devastated a big part of the East Coast. You probably saw in the news where the FEMA said we ran out of funds. In North Carolina, they said we're going to give you $750 on the same day that they sent millions to Lebanon. And so the point is, where are our taxpayer dollars going? And Congress had nothing to do with that decision. It was just a decision made by this White House. So I hope you guys will vote for President Trump. I know that Ethiopia is very important to us. And I know I speak for President Trump when I say that we love all people. And we will have more peace in the world. Now, the easiest reason to vote for President Trump is the last 3.5 years. And you can imagine under Kamala, her policies will be just as bad, if not 10 times worse. So financially, for your children to have a future and buy a home, as far as safety and security. And you think about gas prices, we're what, $2 a gallon? And some of these business owners are saying for the diesel for their trucks, up to $6 a gallon. Of course, they've lowered them just in time for the elections. So for foreign policy reasons, less wars, more peace, for you guys to be able to afford to pay for education, to pay for a home, to pay for gas. You know, I've heard that nowadays a lot of American families search around to which gas station they're going to go to get a lower price. We were not thinking that way when President Trump was in office, and I can only tell you that under a Harris administration, it's only going to get worse. So what I would ask you is what you did for Governor Glenn Youngkin is please do more. If you're praying, please pray more. If you vote, and I hope you do vote for President Trump, is that you'll vote early, and you'll get 10 people to vote for President Trump. If 100,000 folks in your community go get 10 more people to vote, that's a lot of votes. That can make a big difference. You know, in Virginia Beach, we won an election a few years ago by just one vote. So every vote counts. And I know Ethiopia is a very special place. I hope to visit someday. I think it's mentioned in the Bible probably 30 times. There's a whole lot of countries that are not mentioned in the Bible. So it's a wonderful country. We have a wonderful heritage. And like I said, I think I speak for President Trump that we are honored to have you here as part of the American fabric, diversity of ideas and thought, to bring your business expertise, talents, and things like that. And not just me, but I know President Trump and his administration is going to work tirelessly to make sure you have the best country to live, work, and raise your family in peace. I'm State Senator John McGuire. God bless you. God bless America. Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
He has served as a member of the General Assembly in California, both as a representative and a senator. He has served as Insurance Commissioner, Lieutenant Governor, and for the past 15 years or so, as a member of Congress, where Mesbentaganu, Guillaume, and Aepac rely very heavily upon him for both his knowledge of Ethiopia and his passion for social justice. So with that, Congressman Garamendi.
It's to be with all of you, and to thank you so very much for the opportunity to join you this evening. I'm actually in my office here in California at my home. And I'm just looking over the screen here, and I see some photos that go back to 1966. I asked a young woman in my class at Berkeley to marry me, and she said, well, I'll marry you, but I'm going to go in the Peace Corps, and you're going to go play professional football. I don't think it's going to work. We got married, and we went to Ethiopia in the Peace Corps. And the path of our life was set. We found the most wonderful people you could possibly imagine. It was a small community. There wasn't electricity or running water. But there were people that cared deeply about each other, that wanted to improve their lives. I see a picture here of Patty with her students. Some of those students went on to run international programs in all of Africa. Extraordinary, extraordinary country. Things have changed over the many years since 1966, 1968. They certainly have in Ethiopia. The population is perhaps 10 times larger now, and the enormous pressure that's created for economic opportunity, for social justice, for democracy, for inclusion, has created a dynamic that is very, very troublesome. But that's not different than what we find here in America. And I know that you're interested in my views of Ethiopia, and I'll come back to them. But we're 25 days away from an election here in America. And our country is being torn apart, as is Ethiopia, being torn apart by a great division about how we address the challenges here in our nation. I could talk on and on about the policies that differentiate Kamala Harris and my Democratic colleagues from the Republican Donald Trump. And certainly, if one were to look at opportunity, Harris talks about an opportunity economy built upon the first 2 years of the Biden-Harris administration. Incredible foundation for economic growth and social justice. You know, the American Rescue Plan, basically giving America the opportunity to bounce back faster than any other country in the world, including China, and you name the others. And the infrastructure bill, the CHIPS Act, bringing manufacturing of critical components back to America. Putting together the Inflation Reduction Act so that we have an opportunity. No, not an opportunity. We have the means at hand to deal with problems that are going to plague Ethiopia in a way that will be catastrophic and also plague America. Climate change is real. We see that played out over the last 3 weeks with hurricanes. All of that was done. Kamala Harris wants us to use that foundation to move forward. And yesterday and today, Donald Trump, listen to him. Listen to what he's saying. Would you want your daughter to marry somebody that talks like that? Pitting people against each other. A very, very wealthy friend of mine, Republican in Ohio. I was with him at dinner a month ago. And he said, don't talk to me. Do not talk to me about issues. It's about character. Because someone is going to be president of the United States, and it is about character. Character counts. Honesty, integrity. It goes on and on. So before I go back to Ethiopia, I want you to know that in the next 25 days, I would implore you to pay very, very careful attention to the choice that America is going to make. I've known Kamala for 20 years. We worked together, actually, probably way back in 1991, when she was an assistant district attorney in Alameda County. We had a terrible fire, and we had insurance companies that would not pay. Her district attorney office, together with my office, went after those insurance companies, and we forced them to pay. She's a tough lady. She's grounded. She's smart. And she knows good from bad. She's prosecuted the bad. She's taken on the criminal gangs. There's so much at play here. But I'll look up and I'll see a picture of my wife and her students. And I know Ethiopia has the potential to be an extraordinary, successful country. And I know that all of you are working hard here in America, reaching out across the continent, across the ocean, to Ethiopia, trying to set straight a path that would create peace, harmony, community, and an opportunity for full expression of the issues that are at hand in Ethiopia. I've read your paper, and you're correct. All of those issues, political freedom, opportunity for voice, an opportunity to express themselves and to achieve whatever their goals might be. But it seems as though violence is all too often the preferred mechanism. And what we've learned, if we've learned anything, if I've learned anything in the 51 years that I've been in public policy, it's that violence leads to more violence. And so can the people of Ethiopia back away. Follow the admonitions that you've written so carefully. They can, but will they? It's my prayer that they do. Patty and I love Ethiopia. And like you, we're saddened by what we find there. And we're also saddened by what we see in our own political process here in the United States. But I suspect, like you, Patty and I have learned to never, never give up. To always, always try in any way possible to move forward, to find a path that advances our communities, that advances individuals, that provides opportunity, and a path that a person could choose to take to improve themselves, to improve their family and their community. That's what we found in Ethiopia. We left Ethiopia 3 months after Martin Luther King was killed here in America. The students came to Patty and they were so terribly upset. The leader, Patty asked, what's going on? And he stood up and said, why? Why did you kill the father of black men? And then just months later, Kennedy was assassinated. And America erupted into violence. The community leaders came to us and said, don't go home. It's too dangerous. We went home and we engaged in political action and chose a path of working in the political sector. A lot of good things have been done. But the moment's at hand for us to make a profoundly important decision here in America. Profoundly. It's about character. Oh, he's a great actor. And he performs well in a vicious, angry, demeaning way that'll divide us and take years for us to recover. So I implore you to pay attention, pay careful attention to what's at hand here in America. So with that, perhaps you have some questions, and perhaps I can answer them.
Thank you, Congressman, for your time and for expressing your deep feeling for Ethiopia and all the effort that you put forth to assist the people of Ethiopia. We all recognize the amount of effort you put forth and for helping Aepac, move some of the issues forward. I don't believe there is any question here in the room. Is there any? Just give me a second. All right, can you come up?
Thank you, Congressman,
Yes,
for being here and
thank you.
for your love for Ethiopia. You and your wife have so much love for Ethiopia, and we really appreciate that. One of the issues, most important issues for all of us here, Ethiopian Americans, is the Ethiopian government targeting civilians with drones and heavy guns, and there's a lot of extrajudicial killings. The Biden administration has been very quiet. They have not condemned it, and we're very concerned about that, the double standards by the Biden administration. So many of us have been supporting the Democratic Party. We voted successively to Democratic in the Biden administration. However, we are dismayed about this Biden administration policy of not condemning this kind of atrocities, human rights violations. What's your advice for us in light of what's going on in Ethiopia and a massacre of thousands of people, millions have been displaced? I'd like to get your opinion. Thank you.
I'll do my best. I'm not sure I heard your full question, but the role of the American government. I'm going to maybe go in a different direction here. The role of the American government with regard to Ethiopia has to be one of encouraging democracy and encouraging free participation in the process of governance and selection of political leaders. And that should always be our watchword, not only in Ethiopia, but really around the world. Not so easily done in Ethiopia. There's been years of enormous trauma, violence. So with that policy in mind, it then leads to a series of actions. First of all, humanitarian. Ethiopia is in a very vulnerable part of the world with climate constantly changing over the years. I remember the great famine in the mid 80s. And those will come back. So humanitarian assistance is, I think, extraordinarily important, and that it be delivered without regard to the politics of the time. Secondly, economic development, supporting economic development. And that there are many ways to do this. AGOA is one. Obviously, it's not in place now for reasons that are within the activities of the country. But economic development becomes extremely important. And it's economic development through time, not one-off, not one project, but a continuation of projects that lead to foundational growth. Also, education. I suspect almost all of you that are participating here, either you or your parents, came to America for education. And many of you stayed, many of you went back, and you continue to travel back and forth. So education becomes extremely important. That's what Patty and I were doing in 1966, 67, and 68. And so a well-educated society has an opportunity that a society that is not well-educated will never be able to have. And so those are keys along the way. There are many other pieces of this. And I believe that the Harris administration will carry forward with an even-handed policy towards Ethiopia, encouraging and doing the things that I just described, seeking a path that would create opportunity. I have no idea where Trump will go. His Project 2025 will eliminate a good portion of the foreign aid. And many other things that will have a direct impact on Africa and certainly Ethiopia. And so I look at that with considerable alarm and say, if that's what they intend to do, then there's going to be America pulling back from engagement in Africa. And I think that would be a terrible, terrible mistake. In any case, we're going to go forward. I'm likely to be elected. I'm in good position to do so. And as I close off this conversation, I want to really thank you and Aepac for your engagement. It's extremely important that your voice be heard with members of Congress, with the presidential campaign and beyond. You have a powerful voice, and you've used that voice to engage deeply here in America and in Ethiopia. I look forward to working with you. I look forward to our continued engagement. I see many familiar faces. If I could use familiar and friendly faces in combination, I think I would be accurate. So thank you so very much for this opportunity to talk to you. The election will be over. We'll be back in Congress on the 12th of November, and I expect I'll be there. I've taken a brief hiatus for my cancer treatment, which is going extraordinarily well. And I'll be in remission by Christmas and full on dealing with all of the critical issues that confront America, Ethiopia, and indeed the world. So thank you so very, very much for this opportunity to join with you.
Good evening, everyone. Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick here from Pennsylvania's 1st Congressional District. Although I wish I could be there to join you in person for tonight's town hall, it remains a true honor for me to be able to at least join you remotely. Ethiopia is not just a cornerstone of Africa, but a country of profound global significance, with a culture and a history that have shaped the world. The Ethiopian people, both at home and here in the United States, embody a strength and a resilience that inspire all of us. Your contributions to America are felt in every corner of our society, from business and academia to arts and public service. And your vibrant community here is a testament to the rich cultural heritage you carry and that you share. And despite the immense challenges Ethiopia has faced, the accomplishments of Ethiopians in the face of adversity have been nothing short of extraordinary. You have held on to hope and continue to build, to thrive, and to excel. And your strength is a reminder of what is possible, even in the darkest of times. Whether it's in innovation, in education, or in advocacy, Ethiopians are leading the way with courage and determination. Your advocacy and your efforts are vital in fostering understanding and promoting positive change. And I very much look forward to continuing our partnership and our friendship as we advance toward a shared vision of a more just and conflict-free Ethiopia. And to my Ethiopian communities in Bucks and Montgomery counties in Pennsylvania, and those across our country, I will always stand with you. Once again, thank you for your dedication. Thank you for all of your tireless efforts. And above all, thank you for your friendship and your partnership with me and my team. Together, we will build a brighter and more prosperous and more peaceful future for Ethiopia. God bless.